guys, and welcome to Nickrit, and today's video is gonna be a little weird. I'm gonna be real, it's gonna be weird. So, we're gonna start off with a story time. About a year ago, it's like a year and a half ago at this point, I was over at my girlfriend's house and we were there for New Year's, and I was talking about how for a New Year's resolution, I wanted to be like her and I wanted to start reading. And honestly, I used to read a lot back in middle school, but I haven't read anything at all in my 20s, and now I'm 31, and yeah, I just haven't read jack. So I was like, oh, I really want to read, and then she offhandedly, just jokingly said, you know, we should try to find you a book that's got yarn in it. And I thought, oh, ha ha ha, they've got knitting and crochet books. She's like, no, but really, and I thought, well, actually, really, what is out there? So the next day, it's like the algorithm gods were listening to me somehow, so she who shall not be named, or Siri, or whatever. Anyway, she was listening, and she gave me this book on my recommended on my Amazon front page. So, of course, I fed the algorithm gods, and I bought it. And then proceeded to also, the next day, it then said, oh, that worked. You want this book? You'll also want this one. So I also got Knitted and Knifed, and they sat on my bathroom shelf for over a year until my dad was going to the restroom after visiting one day and saw them and went, really, Cody? Really? So I ended up pulling them down going, you know what? Yeah, really, I'm gonna read these. And then the same problem that always pops up, popped up. And I started reading it, I got a chapter in, and then my hands started itching because I wanted to crochet. And then I realized what the heck my problem was and why I haven't read a book since I was 20. It's because I have a big thing in my hand and I have to do all of this to control it, and I have no time and no extra hands to just crochet and to knit. So I found a solution. I ended up getting a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I got the first month for free, and then I started using it, and I have it on my MacBook Air, I have it on my phone, I also have it on my tablet. And so what's nice about this, I'm pretty sure my phone, my iPad's dying. Oh yeah, I'm at 1%. Anyway, I have the Kindle app right on here. Where is it? It's somewhere. It's right there. So I open up my Kindle app, and what's nice is it'll pop up to whatever book you're reading. I think right now I started like the first 2 pages of Murder, She Knit, which is another one that's out there, and we're gonna go into that. But say, oh, so don't allow. So it will open up to Murder, She Knit, which is what I'm currently reading right now. And what's nice is I can just tap it, and I can have something in my hands and I can crochet at the same time. I got this in my hand, I've got my tensioning going however I want to do it, and then I'm just going to tap the page. So that's what I really like about the Kindle part of it, and that's what made this actually possible. So I actually reached out to Amazon and was like, hey, you want to sponsor a video? And then they reminded me that I'm already a part of their affiliate program, and that they have a thing that I can do where I have a link down below where if you want to sign up for your own Kindle Unlimited for the first month, you'll get that for free. And I think that's amazing. I love it. I got my free membership and I'm about to actually continue it on. Usually when I do the whole free trial thing, I'll cancel it, but nope, not with this. It's actually super functional. I don't have to just have YouTube videos in the background. I can actually read something if I want to read something. And honestly, I really, really liked that. So it was a pretty awesome trial. So I'm keeping mine. And if you're interested in getting your own membership for Kindle, you can go down below. A bunch of these books are also part of their Audible program. So if you're interested in listening to your books rather than reading them, you can do that as well. My iPad just died, so I'm gonna go put that down. So finally, using my Kindle, I was able to read both of these books. I still have the physical copies. I'm still gonna have them. But I'm going to tell you what I think about the Vampire Knitting Club and Knitted and Knifed. First up is the Vampire Knitting Club. I read this one first, and honestly, I'm really scared that I read the best one first for this one. So it is the first in a paranormal cozy mystery series. It is done by Nancy Warren, and it is the first in a 13-book series. And I liked this so much. While I read it, I got through the entire book within a day, and then that night, it was like, as I was getting to the end of the book, it popped up with a, do you want to borrow the second in the series? Which popped right up after I finished this book, and I was like, you know what? I do want to read the rest of this series, so I am actually going to stick with it. I read the first book and I read the second book in the series. I'm not going to give away spoilers. I do really like it. I think that the paranormal aspects definitely kept me engaged and kept me interested, because it wasn't just straight up murder mystery, which is what the first one is. You have to try to figure out, as the back of this gives away, who murdered someone in your life. So, yeah, there's a lot of little things in this that I think it was a lot smoother than the other book, which I'm going to be going over a little bit as well. But I really liked it. The fact that there was a lot going on, but it wasn't jumbled, I really appreciated that. It was definitely an easier read, and I went right from the first book into the second book, and I had them done in 2 days. And I haven't done that, again, since I was in middle school. Honestly, I used to cram through entire series within a week at the middle school that I used to go to, and I was like, everybody, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who are watching my channel who have done that before, where they were in middle school, and I don't know where that brain went, but could just cram right through an entire series. But I finally did that, and I found out I have to have something in my hands in order to do it. So this first book does set you up with a lot of stuff that you can tell that she's going to pay off later on in the series, which I really liked. I liked the idea of all these little tips being kind of wedged in there, and it wasn't so like, it wasn't grotesque. It wasn't like, it's a murder mystery, someone does get murdered, but it wasn't so like graphic that you have to worry about it, but you did take it seriously still. I know that my issue with a lot of things, especially lately, is how like graphic it is for me. Like I love horror movies, I love all that kind of stuff, but I've been struggling with that for the last couple months. Something about the winter, something about COVID. Anyway, this was a very easy read. I took the murder seriously, but the context of the murder, which I'll explain later, makes it so it's not quite as like, oh my god. I don't know how to phrase it any other way other than that. But basically, I did enjoy this one. This one I definitely give a 4 out of 5. Would recommend. I read both 1 and 2. Again, I'm gonna ramble more about that, but still. Also, if you do wind up reading this book, just so you know, Nancy Warren, there's 13 books in this series, and she published this in 2018. So, there's 13 in less than 4 years. And she also has 60 books total, and it has a bunch of, it's all paranormal. So there's like a cooking one, and then there's also a vampire like reading club one, which, so if you're interested in that and you like her writing, definitely look into her, and a bunch of it is on the Kindle Unlimited. So let's go ahead and pop over to Knitted and Knifed. So I struggled through this book so much. This is Knitted and Knifed, a Knitty Kitties mystery by Tracy Drew. There are 7 books in the series, but when I look on there, there's only 5 listed on the Kindle, so I don't really know what's going on there, because it says, so there's 6 underneath the Kindle listing for when you go to tap in to what the main series is. So you go to click on a Knitty Kitties mystery, and then the last 2 books are the same exact book, but one's a large font version, and then there's only 6 listed even with that, so that makes there's 5. I don't know. It was very strange. It definitely didn't feel like it lined up at all. I'm also looking over on my thing. So I wasn't a big fan of this book. I'm not trying to trash it or anything. It just felt like there were exposition dumps everywhere, and it felt like way too much information going on at any given amount of time. I couldn't keep track of it. I know that might be a draw for a lot of people who like murder mysteries, who want to have all these little pieces. It felt like a puzzle that was fairly simple to go through. I went from like a 200 piece puzzle to a like 10,000 piece puzzle just on the mystery point of it alone, and then it just felt like she was trying too hard given the yarn shop situation going on in the background. And honestly, the people in the town, they don't talk like people, and that was like my biggest like thing that drove me crazy. Is I'm like, why would you volunteer all of this information? I get that there are people that will just gab and talk and want to give all the information in the world. I'm one of those people. I'll tend to ramble, but not when it comes to someone who's been murdered. I don't know. It just seemed like, I get small town and people talking to each other, but it just something about the way that the characters were speaking and the way that the main character, my main issue was the main character and how she did things that were crazy. Absolutely insane. No human would do this, no matter what they're trying to do if they're trying to solve a mystery. They just straight up wouldn't do those things. even if I had the same scenario happen to me and I had a family member who may have been suspected of it, I wouldn't do the things that she did. It was absolutely insane. I could not get my brain around that fact, and the fact that she just kind of, she was crazy. She was absolutely crazy. If you actually think about it, you doing those things that she did and why she was doing those things, you wouldn't do them. They just weren't believable in any kind of way. It just didn't feel real. And the main fact that like all of the characters she was talking to were just giving massive exposition dumps. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't like it, and it didn't feel real. So this one definitely got a 2 out of 5 for me. I did not enjoy this one. I would recommend, if you're going to read either of these, go with the Vampire Knitting Club. It was a lot more enjoyable. So the title of this video is why is this a subgenre? 2 books do not a subgenre make, but 7 books does a subgenre make, and there are more than this. These are just the high-rated ones. And so I purchased the first one in all of these series before I realized that I could get them on Kindle, so I'm going to be doing something about these. I'm not entirely sure. I want to go over all of these real quick. You have Knit 1, Kill 2, which is a knitting mystery, which has 16 books in its series, not to be confused with Knit 1, Murder 2, by Reagan Davis. This one's done by Maggie Sefton. And this one has 12 books in its series. So there's so many of them. And then you also have a Black Sheep Knitting Mystery, While My Pretty One Knits, which has 8 books in its series. Then you also have The Last Wool and Testament by Molly McRae. That was done by Anne Canadeo. Anyway, Last Wool and Testament, Molly McRae, has 8 books in its series. There's so many. And then my favorite one, which I think I like just based on the art of the cover art, I think is super cute, is Murder She Knit, a knit and nibble mystery by Peggy Earhart. There are so many of these, and honestly, this one has like the cutest art and the punniest names. Let me see if I can find the thing. Where's the one with the knit and nibble? There we go. I'm on my computer over here, and I have to try to figure out what the names were again. They're stinking cute. I should have just been prepared. Murder She Knit, and then there is Dyed in the Wool, Knit 1, Dye 2, Silent Knit, Deadly Knit, A Fatal Yarn, Knit of the Living Dead, which I have to own. If you saw my previous video, then you know that I was raised on zombie movies, and I watched a ton of them, and I just think it's super funny and super cute. Oh my gosh. Nitty Gritty Murder, like, you know, knit grit, and then Death of a Knitwit. I think those are all hysterical names, and all of these have very punny names. There's one of these in the series. I don't remember which one it is, but it's called like Silence of the Lamb's Wool, and then there's another one that had Silence of the Alpacas as the name. So they just going for it, And the way that they will like use knit and purl as a punny way of like putting in a weird murder mystery does it for me. I think it's so funny. I think it's hysterical, and I plan on doing one of these for a book group on my Discord server. So I definitely think that we are going to be doing a Discord book club with Murder She Knit. I'm super excited about it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm going to be posting up a little Discord server board for, I'm not entirely sure how exactly I'm going to go about it, but I'll put all the rules on the Discord server before the 28th of February, which is coming up soon. So definitely get your copy of this on Kindle Unlimited. It is on there, and you can also get the audiobook on Kindle. So I'm going to be posting that on there. If you are interested in it, join our Discord, learn more about the rules as I post them on the Discord server, linked down below. All right, so we're going into the spoiler zone for both of these. I'm going to be going into the story. I'm going to be going into what bothers me, what I like, what I don't like, what I want to talk about, because I want to talk about these books. I read 2 of them, and I want to talk about it now, okay? So, if you do not want to be spoiled for this at all, then definitely this is your time to leave. That's fine if you even got this far, but I want to talk about it. So if you don't want to be spoiled for these and you want to read them, then definitely now is your time to leave. I'm going to post a little spoiler thingy for like 5 seconds, and then you're out of time. Make sure you click off of this if you do not want to be spoiled. So, okay. So there are a lot of similarities, and I don't know how much is similarity versus how much is just typical tropes for a murder mystery. I've only ever read 2 murder mysteries in my life, and they are both yarn related. So this is a big thing. Why are all the grandmas dead? I know that you tend to die when you get older, but like, We have dead grandmas in both of these books, but in very different ways. This one straight up just has a dead grandma and a grandpa that is very sad in it, which makes me sad, and I wish Harry had Nana D. It made me sad. This one has a grandma who was turned into the undead, and she's a vampire now, but she was murdered and had to be turned into a vampire because she was murdered, and everybody still loves her. So Gran is now a vampire, like an 80-year-old vampire who can't be seen. So she just kind of wanders because she's an insomniac, but one of the other vampires has to try to like, be like, no, 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 get back inside the house. And it's just kind of ridiculous. But they're both very dead in these. So I don't know, that's very strange. Another big thing is that both of the main characters that were, in order to get into this transition of owning a yarn shop, both of them go to our own yarn shops. In order to get there, they were cheated on. So we've got like the Toad in this one, and then I don't remember the name of the boyfriend because it was so inconsequential. But they both were cheated on, and that's how they wound up going back home in order to do that. Another thing is that they both own the yarn shops now, so that's, I mean, it must be nice. Sorry, like that must be nice. The love interests in this are also interesting. So this one feels more trope versus anything. There's love interests on both of this. There's 2 of them in each. And one of them is a straight, like in this one, there's a straight-laced detective, and then there's a bar owner. And this one's a vampire and a detective. So it's kind of like, it kind of flips it on its side. It's kind of weird, but it's still like 2 love interests that are polar opposites, which feels more trope than anything, honestly. And then honestly, there's black cats in all of these books. Like I've noticed black cat. He's a familiar though, so it doesn't feel quite as weird. This one was also written in 2018, and this one was in 2020. Just do with that information what you will. This one, little black cat. This is a white cat. In this one, there's that. And then I keep looking at all of these like other books, and there's just black cats all over all of them. And you know, I've got my own black cat, so I don't know what that says about me or about yarn people. How many people have black cats? Put it down in the description. They say they're not lucky, but you know, I love my girl. I love my cat. She's very grumpy because I just pulled her out of a nap. But you know, she lives a good life. I started giving her salmon oil, so we'll see how that works for her and her dandruff. We got dandruffy skin, don't we? She's my 15-year-old girl. Yeah, okay. So how much of that is trope versus not, I don't know. And I wanted to mention that this, again, 2018, 2020, and I'm sure some of those were even done before this one was. So I don't know, how much is trope and how much is not. Now, I'm gonna go into a bit of an unfair rant on this book because honestly, I got to the 20% mark and I was very upset. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I am only 20% through this book, and it feels like they've shoved so many more hints and so much more exposition for this book for the first 20% than I got in the entirety of both this book and the second one. There was just so much just getting dumped on me, and I know that might be what you like if you really want to do that 10,000 piece puzzle. I whack my face with a book. I did not like it, and it felt just like exposition dump upon exposition dump, that they were just shoving a bunch of these little hints everywhere, and it just wasn't great. Knitted in Knife's main character is named Tessa, and honestly, she drove me crazy. So it wasn't just the exposition dumps that bothered me, but how Tessa acted when she was doing everything. So Tessa ended up getting cheated on, comes home after Nana D dies to take care of the yarn shop and to take care of Harry, her grandfather. And her, this guy gets murdered, not a good guy, local guy gets murdered, and his brother and her brother ends up, basically, they're like, oh, he owes you, you owed the dead guy money, so obviously you're good for it. So, well, they were looking more into other people, but like, Tessa felt like, oh, it's up to me to figure out the mystery. And so she ends up going around and questioning people and thinks she's being super sly and taking care of these cats while also doing like knitting shops and stuff. Something about it was just really weird, and it's like, just let the detective do their job. Like if it's obvious that your brother didn't do it, then he wouldn't get pinned for it. They have to have a good amount of like proof for that. And there was like a lipstick cup. There was a cup with like a lipstick stain on it, so it was pretty obvious that it wasn't the brother at all. And so she ends up going around and snooping, and even like goes up into other people's property lines, which drove me crazy. Like, you don't do that. You don't. goes into this guy's property line to find him with his mistress and is like, oh, do I leave or do I confront them? And it's like, you leave. You don't confront them. You're on their property. You might not like what he's doing, but it is within his right to go and do that on his property. Is it a crappy thing to do? Sure, but you don't go into somebody's property. That's not... No, that's how you get shot. I'm sorry, that's not okay. Not what you do. And so she's literally, and she's like, oh, do I leave or do I confront them? And she confronts them. She confronts them. And they literally start doing exposition dumps about how it's not them. And it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Oh, it drove me crazy. Oh, and then she gets this like intimidating letter that threatens her cats, the two black cats that are in her shop. And it's got like, it's like pinned to her grandmother's favorite plant. And they have a pin through the cat's face or something so dumb. And so what does she do? She goes to the house of the person she suspects did it and suspects is the murderer. And do you know how that ends up for her? She winds up poisoned by drinking tea from the person that she thinks is a murderer, or at least from the husband of the person she thinks is a murderer. She drinks tea that's doped up, that's drugged, and ends up knocked out, because of course she does. And then the murder mystery just ends with like the villainess who murdered him because like he was selling drugs to her son. Like it was her and the dentist who was helping cover it up, her and her husband. And so she's like, I'm sorry, the girl that was in love with the murder victim is, we're gonna stage it as a murder-suicide with you, Tessa. You should have left well enough alone. And then she does all these exposition dumps and then ends up just punching them both, but punching the dentist in the nose. And then the other girl ends up choking the villainess. It was just a very, like, quick, abrupt, the detective was just like, what the hell? It was not great. I did not enjoy that. It summed it up pretty quickly and it was interesting while reading it, but it was very unbelievable. My suspension of disbelief is fairly high. I'm able to like be like, oh yeah, this is still enjoyable, I can still do this, but like, none of that would actually really happen. They would have just straight up murdered you without giving you their big evil villain spiel. You know what I mean? Like, people don't do that. They don't care enough for you who's about to be dead to know why they're doing it. They just don't. They would have just murdered you. And also, if they had spent the time to drug your tea, they probably would have drugged it high enough that you wouldn't be waking up. It was very, very dumb, and I did not appreciate it. So that was my rant. That was my trash of this book, and we're going to be going into Murder, She Knit next, and I'm not going to be reading the other books in this series at all. I am, however, going to be reading a bunch more of these series, and I'm actually pretty excited that there are 13 books in this series. So, and for the book club book, we're going to be reading Murder, She Knit. Maybe down the line, if I can get enough people to read the Vampire Knitting Club, I would do this again for a book club. This was a lot of fun, but I'm going to be going on to Murder, She Knit next because I want to read this one so badly, and I think it's super cute, and all the art is so cute for this book series. I really want to get into it. Let me know which one of these books you would like to read, if not this one for the book club. Let me know down in the Discord server that we have if you would like to read any of the other books, any of them piqued your interest. We can definitely read those as well for other months. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think about any of these books and whether or not you're going to be reading either of these, either this as a fun little cutesy take your brain off things, or this as a nice little hate read. Or I could just be completely wrong and you might actually fall in love with this and Tessa and all of her ridiculous antics. So either way, you totally can read it. Do it. I recommend getting Kindle Unlimited, especially if you've been struggling with reading and holding physical books. There's no shame in reading it online, honestly. You don't need a physical book to read if it's gonna be the thing that keeps you from reading. That's pretty much just my big premise. So get the first free month for free, linked down below if you're interested in that. And next video will be a T-Rex. I know I've been saying that for a little bit, but I have half of it filmed already. I just need to film the rest of the body. Just need to do it. And the pattern for that will be for free for the first week after I upload it. So if you're interested in that, we also do pattern testers for all of the patterns that I've been talking about, linked again in the Discord server. So if that's something you're interested in, go down there. And that's pretty much it. We have a Patreon if you want to do supporting the channel kind of stuff. We have Facebook, an Instagram, a TikTok. I'm terrible at TikTok, but we have TikTok. It's there. It exists. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, until next time, guys. Bye.